listening to Double Tap, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Priest.
Oh, hello. Welcome to Double Tap on Tuesday. How are you, Shaun Priest?
I'm excited, Stephen Scott. Excited, sir, I say.
Why?
Oh, thank you for asking. I thought you never would. Because I just turned on my glasses and was told that Meta AI is now available in your location. Please open the Meta View.
Breaking news. Breaking
Well,
news.
no, stop that right
Oh,
now.
okay,
because
forget it. Okay, fine.
We've broken this news many a time. So I don't know how long it's going to last for, but you know what? I'm going to test it out. While we're doing this show, I'm actually going to enable it and test out the look and describe feature to see if it is working today.
Wow, happening live.
Okay.
All right, okay. Well, look, we're actually going to continue on the email theme from yesterday because we've been getting a lot of emails about Meta Ray-Bans, of course. Corrie has been in touch with us. We haven't heard from Corrie in a while. And she's back in touch to tell us about a feature she's found in the Meta Ray-Bans. We're not talking Be My Eyes here, but we're not talking even about the AI itself. We're talking about a feature of the Meta Ray-Bans that could be useful to some people. So here's what Corrie has to say.
Hello, Double Tappers. Corrie in London, UK here. Just with a quick note about something that I've discovered recently that got me really excited. And I thought, I can't be the only person who doesn't know about this already. And this is to do with the Meta frames and the fact that you can actually pair them for Bluetooth playback with other devices. So you can have them connected to your phone for the Meta AI elements, but you can then have for audio playback them working with a second device. So that could be a laptop, could be an Apple Watch, could be an iPhone, an iPad. And I've actually gone and paired them with all of those different devices in the last 24 hours. And it doesn't work like multi-port, so it can only handle one connection at a time, in addition to the Meta AI stuff working. When you're using a device that's not your phone, it won't read out messages that come through, but it does. Well, for me, I found it really useful. So, for example, sitting at a laptop, you can use them to have your screen reader playing in your frames or any content on the laptop. But obviously, the Meta AI connection is still working as well. So if you want to ask Meta questions or use the multimodal bit of it, that all still seems to work fine. And it's really easy to set up. So all you need to do is just put the glasses back in the case and press the little button on the bottom and just pair them as you would with any other Bluetooth device with whatever you want to pair them up with. And then you switch manually between the connections, but you don't have to turn one off and then turn another one on. You literally just go to the Bluetooth settings on the device that you want to use it with and just activate it there. I've actually found it really helpful with moving between Apple devices to have two shortcuts. So I've got one now set up that sends audio to the glasses, and I've got a second one that sends audio to AirPods, which just makes it all quite quick, so you don't have to go into the Bluetooth settings all the time. And the other thing, which is sort of connected as well, I guess, loosely, is that I'm finding now that the Meta frames work really well, obviously, with an iPhone and hold the audio connection, that when I'm out and about with an Apple Watch and a pair of AirPods, if you connect the AirPods to the Apple Watch, the connection holds nice and firm, which it didn't used to in the past, because it used to be the case that the phone would try to steal the AirPod connection back all the time. So now, if you are out and about and you're predominantly using the Meta frames, but you want to be able to use an Apple Watch either all the time or just for a momentary thing, you can pop an AirPod in and use the Apple Watch through your AirPods, and it's all quite lovely. So, yes, those are recent discoveries that I've been making, and hopefully that's been helpful for a few people.
Thank you, Corrie.
Right, that's it from me for now. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much, Corrie. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Amazing. Yeah, I did not know that you could use them, well, as a Bluetooth headset, basically, with other devices. Someone was asking me if you could put the output through to a Bluetooth speaker. I knew you couldn't do that, so you couldn't hear the Meta Ray-Bans audio through another speaker. But hearing your computer through the Meta Ray Bans, that's really cool.
Yeah, and with the Mac, you can set up a shortcut, as you were saying, Corey. That's about the only shortcuts I've ever done with the whole AirPods thing, because I totally agree with you with this whole AirPods grabbing audio from wherever it comes from thing. There is a function in there in the settings you can choose, and I don't really get my head around this. You can connect, I think, automatically, or it can be when last connected to the device. I still don't really understand what that means compared to automatically, because isn't it not just the same thing? But clearly not. I think one setting is for essentially you being able to choose where the device audio comes from. I just wish they could just have a toggle switch in there to say, look, just turn all that handoff thing off. Because
Yes.
if I'm honest, I find it good, and I think it's intended to be smart, and it is smart. But when you use VoiceOver, it's a nuisance, because whenever the VoiceOver gets enabled or activated, or Siri gets activated on another device, it just grabs the audio. And, when I was using my MacBook and I've got my iPhone sitting there, the iPhone rings, the AirPods pick up the audio over there, which is good, you'd think. But then it's stuck over there. So I then have to go back into my settings. And let's just say when you're sitting on a busy train and suddenly your speech is yelling out of your computer and not out of your AirPods where you wanted them to be coming out of, that's quite annoying. So what I end up doing is I either end up avoiding AirPods with my Mac, which I don't like doing, but I sometimes do, and just use wired earbuds and just have one earbud in there purely for that. So one earbud in my ear, wired to the Mac, and then use my AirPod for my phone. That's the only way I get around it. But I could use my Meta frames. I could use that. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try that out. Thank you, Corrie.
Corrie, great to hear from you as well. It's been a while.
Where have you been?
I know. She's busy. Very busy.
Oh, of course.
I was working, but glad you're still with us. Really appreciate that. Gregory's been in touch on the subject of wearables versus canes.
Hello, Stephen and Shaun. Just wanted to give some feedback on all the news regarding Meta and Glidance. The mobility space is advancing quickly, with two main choices of using a hands-free wearable or a modernized digitized white cane with wheels. As you may remember, I have used and still test the Celeste glasses and have been using the Meta glasses more every day. Although Celeste will not develop new hardware, I can continue to use them with good success, although it seems that the marketplace may have rendered a verdict in the wearable space. The Meta mainstream glasses are improving with slow but steady progress in the AI and third-party apps like Ira and my favourite, Be My Eyes. When using the Meta glasses, I find some of the same issues that I experience with the Celeste. The Ray-Bans can at times miss a vehicle or not be able to correctly give right or left directions, but latency of the Ray-Bans seems to be better than Celeste. Celeste and Ray-Bans seem to have fewer hallucinations, but both have periodic connectivity problems. I've tried to do continuous scanning as on my Celeste glasses, but the Ray-Bans say they cannot do a scan at this time. Will the access to AI remain affordable to the blind community? Zuckerberg mentions on all the time AI and real-time video coming soon with models like OpenAI and ChatGPT 4.0. Some have stated that a quarter of all power produced in the United States will be needed in the future at many of the data centers. Microsoft will be accessing power from the infamous 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant. Google and Amazon will be using so-called mini nuclear power plants currently being developed. AI will require huge amounts of energy at very large data centers around the world. I do not expect the technology to be free, but I do hope we can access it affordably. The Glidance device sounds very promising, but is not hands-free. After experiencing what a hands-free device can offer, I have some questions of how Glidance can eventually compete in the accessible marketplace. After attending Glidance Zoom calls and having correspondence with the Glidance team, I think it will be possible for Glidance to advance in the accessible space. When using a white cane, we gather in all sorts of environmental data by multitasking with other devices like an iPhone or a GPS device like VR Trek. Although not hands-free, the Glidance device could allow us to enjoy the walk more by reducing the level of the need for some tactile feedback experienced when using a white cane. For example, I use a shoreline method that helps me identify a line like a grass or sidewalk border. Glidance will find the line and guide a person just like my Celeste and Ray-Bans can do hands-free. Regarding the stairway issue with Glidance, when walking upstairs, I use my white cane to tap the steps as I climb. Could I pick up Glidance and use it to gently tap the steps as I climb? When going down the stairs, the device would work better than a regular cane by using the wheels to navigate down the steps. The wheel turning or guidance feature is very interesting, and the ability to ask the device to find a door after a freestyle or guided route with GPS is also very interesting. I think guidance will be a fantastic tool for those who are just starting their O&M journey, but most likely a traditional white cane may be needed alongside guidance as a foundational part of an overall training method. Maybe include a wearable too with O&M. The cost of a guidance is comparable to the Envision glasses with the hardware, software, and subscription. Although I prefer a wearable, I think purchasing the Envision glasses has too many unknowns because the scuttlebutt is saying Envision software may be placed on other devices instead of the old Google Glass platform. Would like to see Shaun do an Envision glasses demo. My hope is that a hands-free device in the future will be all I need to access my world. The technology is here at hand, and we are beyond the potential, and reality is so near. Thanks again for the banter and some tech. Take care, Gregory Highnote.
Thank you, Gregory. That's a very interesting perspective on this, because you're kind of linking two things I wouldn't have necessarily linked together, which is, wearables and mobility aids. I see them as very different things at the moment.
I thought exactly the same thing, but is it? If we delve into it a bit more, I think so. What do we class wearables as then, if they're not mobility aids? What would you?
Well, okay, maybe I'm thinking about, maybe I should recategorize that, because I'm thinking, I suppose, about a device like the Meta Ray-Bans, which I wear. That's a wearable. A watch is a wearable, a ring, whatever it might be. But something which is physically in contact with the ground is what I would call a mobility aid. I don't know if I'd call glasses a mobility aid.
No, I'm with you totally. I'm just trying to find if there is a link there, because when we're talking about, as you mentioned there, the Celeste glasses with that, what I thought was very impressive continual scanning of the sidewalk feature that we had a demo of. I mean, arguably that's a mobility aid, but you couldn't use that on its own, right? Because you still need that shorelining with your white cane, for example, or the glide or your guide up, whatever it may be. It's just giving you information about your environment, I would say. So that's not really the same thing, is it, I suppose?
I think I would say we're probably decades off ever being at the level where someone could walk around with a device in their hand purely, connected via, just looking at the ground and reporting back, or, using some kind of ultrasonar or whatever it might be, ultrasonic device. I know that, for example, the mini guide comes up in conversation when we talk about this. That seems to be the one device that kind of tends to make that possible. I would love to speak to someone, and putting it out there to you guys now, I'd love to speak to someone who uses the mini guide alone as a standalone device, no cane, no dog, nothing. Now, again, this all depends, I guess, on the individual's vision level as well.
Of course, yes. Low vision, I would have used that all the time. It would have been my hidden invisible cane.
But if you're totally blind, would you ever navigate around without something connected to the ground? I don't know. I don't think we would.
Just even uneven ground, right? The sidewalks around here, if they got potholes or whatever, I need that cane just to let me know what's coming up. I couldn't do it.
It was funny, I was out today and the pathways are just so bad now. It's actually easier to walk on the road, which is dangerous, but it is actually safer to walk on the road. I mean, there's less chance.
Safety advice.
This is not safety advice. I'm just purely talking about the village I live in, but the road is so bad, the sidewalks, I should say, are so bad that it's actually better to walk on the road itself. And what I do is I walk on the same side as the cars oncoming so they can see me. Now, I don't do it for the whole trip, but I did it today, for example, because there are certain parts of the path that are just so bad with potholes, and it's just horrible. And I think, I don't know how I would navigate this without a cane. And even with a dog, I've often worried about that, because a dog doesn't alert you to any of this stuff, right? You're still walking straight. It will, of course, avoid certain obstacles, like certain puddles or, certain, like, manhole covers or whatever on the ground. It might avoid those, but it's not going to walk you past or walk you around a pothole unless it's a severe pothole. And that's the kind of thing I've often thought about. The cane is actually vital in that sense, in that way. And it's actually why, and I don't know if this is the case around the world, but certainly here in the UK, you cannot get a guide dog without basic orientation and mobility training. You need to have the ability to use a white cane.
course.
and use it successfully to navigate before you can even be considered to have a guide dog. So that is the foundational level, and I think it always will be. And I think it has to be, because it's the one thing that, the only thing that can go wrong with a cane is that it's elastic brakes.
Yeah,
So
falls to
ultimately it's the
bits.
safest thing to have with you all the time. Even if you have a dog, even if you have, like, remember that time we talked to our good friend Robin, and we sort of were amazed that he was stunned at the idea that you would ever have a cane in your bag while you had a dog. And I'm like, are you kidding
Yeah.
me? The dog gets ill. How do you get home? How do you do anything? How do you move?
Well, the point is that there isn't one thing that does everything, right? A guide dog has certain things which it can't do that a cane is better at, and vice versa. And the same will be true with the glide. I think personally, we don't know how well the glide's going to perform yet in its final form, right? We've been so impressed so far. Everything's looking great. Team behind it are great. But, as to finding doors and things like that, who knows until we get our hands on it and the software is finalized. But I don't think anything is mutually exclusive. Anyway, sometimes it may be, it's a nice sunny day. I don't want to think too much. I want to turn my brain off and just go for a walk around the park. Maybe glide is the better option than taking the white stick.
I don't think I'd ever do that. Goodness, it's so funny you say that, because I've often thought, I'd love to just go out for a walk and not have to think about every single step I'm taking.
Yeah.
And not only that, then think about, because I do feel if I take my mind off the ball for just a second or two, that's it, I'm lost. And I told you the examples in hospitals where I've been led around and I've just kind of put it onto the other person to take me to where I need to go. Then I come out and I'm on my own and I'm lost. I don't know how to get out of the building, because you've turned left, then right, then right, then left.
Yeah.
And you think,
Well, think
which
of a
way did
glide
I
in
go?
that respect. In a hospital, just pick one up at a reception and it will take you, instead of waiting for us. Oh yeah, we'll get a porter. It'll take about 20 minutes for someone to guide you to where you need to go.
Or good
or
maps.
in a hotel, going down to a restaurant. Yeah, good maps integrated into a glide.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, hotels as well. Hotels, hospitals, all these places. I really feel for the people at Good Maps and any of these companies, frankly, who try and get companies to engage. I don't understand why these companies, like, especially a hospital,
Yes.
I can maybe understand, a hotel from a commercial point of view. It takes a bit more understanding and a bit more kind of, explanation. It shouldn't need it, but I get it does. But in a hospital, I mean, it should be pretty obvious, right? People need to go to a hospital and you want to be able to navigate it yourself. I suppose my ideal world is a place I can use the tools in my toolbox to navigate myself. Like, I see a lot of people, especially today, I see a lot of people complain about lack of accessibility in various ways. And it kind of infuriates me when I see certain blind people do this, especially those who are advocates and, self-titled advocates. They talk about, for example, inaccessible print material. And I'm thinking, what is inaccessible about this print material you're getting? I have got a smartphone that can read pretty much any piece of text it wants to read. And by the way, the people who are suggesting this and are talking about having the problems also have that technology, because they talk about using that technology. They get annoyed when someone says to them, hey, I can't use Twitter, or can you use Twitter? How do you use it if you're blind? They get all annoyed at that. But then they get sent a letter in the post and they're up in arms because someone dared to send them a letter in print on paper. And I'm like, pull out your phone, download the Seeing AI app or the Be My AI app or any other app you can think of, and it'll, hey, do you know what? Just open the camera app and it'll probably read it to you.
Don't throw that hot potato out at us again, Stephen Scott. We've covered this, but yeah, okay. I still think it's important that organizations offer accessible options. They just should. Simple as that.
I agree. But,
Yes.
but the point I'm making is if it doesn't happen or it doesn't work, I don't think we should all end up in court over it. I mean, look, it's happened to me. I've asked for let me be clear, because I'll get the emails and here we go again.
Yes.
But let me be very clear on this. You're right. I want people to have options and choice, and we should have the option, for example, Braille or audio. But I'll be honest with you, I used to choose the audio option. That usually meant that a lot of letters I got would take ages to arrive. Yeah, but they take ages because they have to be sent off to somewhere to be read out onto
I just want an email.
sent,
I just
you know,
want a text.
ripped into a CD, and then that CD sent to me, and I'm thinking, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
What do I do with this?
exactly
I have
the
nothing to
same.
play it.
I think I still get my energy bill on CD. I've no idea. I haven't had a CD player in the longest time, so it'd be better if it was on vinyl.
But-
actually,
but-
To play it.
Yeah, could you press it onto shellac, please? That would be brilliant. But I mean, look, the truth is, I could pick up my phone and read the bill in its original form, or the letter in its original form, more easily. And of course, with the development of AI, I can get to the heart of the matter. What's the phone number
No,
I need to call? What's the reference
it's a
number?
valid argument. I will give you that. Yes, the way where we're at now with the apps and the OCR technology, it's far less of an issue. I will give you, even with handwriting, some letters. I got a hospital letter the other day from, and it's so ironic. The worst printed letters you get are from the eye hospital, by the way. And they have lines where someone has written in a date by hand, that old thing. But still, yeah, handwriting recognition has got so much better now. So, yeah, I'm with you.
I just think there's more tools we have now. And of course, there's always going to be someone who doesn't have access to it. And I understand that. That's why options exist. But, it's a bit like, it goes back to the Good Maps thing. It goes back to the whole independence discussion. How independent can we be, and how independent do we want to be? And I think those are very different questions. Because there are some people who I don't think feel that they want to be as independent. They want that dependence on other people. And that's fine. That's okay, because part of independence is dependence. That's okay. But I think that for me, I want to be as independent as possible. I go back to that conversation we had with Neil Barnfather at Good Maps. He raised such a vital point to me, which was, you go to a train station, I want to just go, get a coffee, get on the train and go. But what I have to do currently, at least until, of course, I learned that Good Maps existed in the area, was I would go into the train station, sit in a mobility box in the middle of the train station,
Yep.
and then be taken to the train. And that, of course, that's all great. That's all wonderful. But I didn't get my coffee, and I would often have to turn up and be half an hour, 40 minutes early.
Yep.
And I don't want to, I'm sorry, I just want to do all
Absolutely
that.
right.
I just want to turn up and go like everybody else. And the fact is that I can do that now with Good Maps. It makes me want to do it more. And it also kind of makes me want to travel more. I can start to be more independent and travel. This is where this stuff is good. This stuff is useful. But look, to go back to Gregory's point, because he's talking about the wearables and the canes and all the rest of it, I think we've got to be clear that these are different devices. So I think if people are thinking that Celeste glasses, for example, that's a whole other story, which we must come back to. But,
Yes.
Devices like that are kind of on a par with Glidance. I don't know if I would say that's the case, and I don't even think Shub Mittal, who runs that company, would agree with that either. I think they're not the same.
No, they're not.
I would not trust glasses to guide me from one place to the other. Not in its current, even with an assistant, I'd be wary. Look, Be My Eyes, Ira, they will all tell you, you cannot use this to cross the road safely. You just can't. Because this is where you need your own training. Because the problem is it's just one drop of 4G or 5G signal, and that is it. They don't see the bus coming, and it's all over. And the problem is you're so focused on the call, you're not listening. So, the foundation of all of this has to be our knowledge and ability. I say this to you because you don't have any orientation mobility training.
How
Still
dare you?
shocking. Why are you saying how dare you? You don't have any training.
I've
You've
trained
got,
myself.
I threw you a cane and said, get on with it, because I was sick of you holding me on to me.
10 years later, I'm still holding on to your
position.
backpack
Yeah,
in London.
Yeah. I kind of like it, actually. Listen, Greg in Pennsylvania has been his Gregory. Thank you for that, by the way. Just an amazing conversation starter.
Gregory to Greg.
Gregory to Greg, yeah, who's very excited about AI. Greg's excited.
Oh.
Hang on. If Greg's excited, that means I'm in trouble. Let's hear.
Yes.
Hello. After hearing your demo of Seeing AI describing your little pooch in doggy daycare, I really want a Seeing AI version for the PC. Stephen, I think that your little pooch was saying something about your fashion sense when it ate those black and white socks. Clearly, it would prefer you start wearing houndstooth socks, maybe herringbone on Fridays in Lent.
Okay.
My AI excitement grows and grows. Greg in Pennsylvania.
See, he always has got to dig in. He always has got to dig in to be a little
Herringbone
dig,
on
little stab.
Friday.
Thanks,
Very
Greg.
clever, Greg. There is a limitation to Seeing AI video description that you didn't tell me about, Stephen Scott. I got all excited. I went out. I got all my Alice Cooper concert videos, and I thought, let's get them all described. A maximum limit of 10 a day.
Ah, yes, 10 a... Oh, come on. What
10
what else do you
a
want?
day. It's a disgrace. I think there is a limit as well to the...
Hang on a sec. Hang on. I'm just checking.
Yes.
In. Can we get a large stick and the moon for Shaun?
I'm
Just
just
checking in.
saying,
Checking with the
people
double
need
tap lawyers.
to be aware of it. Yes. It is very cool, though. I tried it a couple of times. Very cool. There was one video where it just kept saying, the lights have changed. And the lights have changed again. And that got annoying. But
Yeah.
still, very nice feature to have. I do like that. And of course, let's not forget, PickyBot is still out there and still doing a great job with various AI services too.
It's also kind of told me how boring some of my videos are. There's very little action going on in these videos of mine.
Audio's the way to go. It's the better.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris has been in touch. Thank you, Greg. Chris has been in touch how he plans to use Glide.
Hi, Double Tappers. This is Christopher from Melbourne, Australia.
Hey, Chris.
I thought I would further shed some light, re the whole issue around the different ways of orientation and mobility for us as a blind/VI community. As a piece of context, I go to a lot of concert and live music events. Most of the venues have cloakrooms. As such, the likely configuration that I will use when I eventually get my Glide device would be that I would be going to the venue with both Glide and my cane, storing Glide in a facility's cloakroom, and I would then use my cane for the duration of the evening. In regards to the whole stairs question, I would also, at least in the first few instances, have a cane on me and use the cane for going up or down a set of stairs, then folding up my cane and resuming back with Glide.
Oh, is that it? Right. Okay, fine. Yeah, okay. I agree. 100%, I 100% agree with all of that. No, I mean, well, look, that's ultimately what they're kind of suggesting, right? Because you can't use Glide as a way of navigating up and down the stairs. That's not going to happen, it doesn't seem. You would have to have something else. I do have some issues around that and how that's going to work. I have issues. I have many issues, trust me, but this is only one of the many thousands. But I wonder how that's going to work, and I wonder how it's going to be, because I think about people who might use this kind of device, may not be able to carry a Glide and use a cane to get themselves up and down the stairs at the same time. I don't know how you solve that problem.
Where was it we heard that someone was using the wheels on the Glide as a way to detect the stairs?
Yeah, that was I think a comment yesterday we had, which was suggesting there was a bump it down the stairs. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it would be robust enough for that. I imagine it's
but
robust,
if you're using the wheels as a almost a tactile aid, I think that makes sense. But yeah, I know that is something not we, but Glide are going to have to get a handle on.
But hey, okay, moving on. Gordon has been in touch also on the Glide issues.
Hello, Stephen and Shaun. It's Gordon from Livingston in Scotland once again. Some thoughts on the Glide. This was sparked when I went to a building the other day where I had to climb a lot of stairs. As a long cane user, I simply hold the cane loosely in my hand vertically in front of me, and it taps the stairs on the way up, and I know when I've reached the top. Equally, coming down, I let the cane find the steps, and I know when I've reached the bottom. If you have to carry the Glide up and down stairs, I would be a bit nervous about knowing when I'd reached the top or the bottom. So I'm not sure, but I wonder whether there's any way of adapting the Glide so that it has some sort of reinforced section at the bottom where you can bump it up and down the stairs so that you know where you're going.
Yeah,
it's just a thought. I'm sure the clever boffins behind Glide will come up with a better idea than that. But that's the one thing that's putting me off this device at the moment, and I do hope they can resolve it. Thanks again. Keep up the great work. Speak soon.
Yeah, I'm with you, Gordon. I'm very nervous on stairs, to be honest. Going up, maybe not so much, but certainly coming down, I am terrified on stairs. Even with my cane, I'm like always doing that thing when I get to the bottom step. I'm pushing the cane back and forward and back and forward. And is this definitely the final step? I don't know. It just kind of makes me nervous.
It's more where you get those stairs which aren't a straight up and down,
Yeah.
And you'll have almost a landing, and then they go off to the left or right down a different direction.
Curved
It's those
stairs
sort of
are
things. Curves.
evil.
Well, yeah, and let's not even talk about, awful. But I mean, as we mentioned, and as Glide mentioned, there's a possibility of having an actual telescoping cane built into the handle, so easy access. When you get to the top of the bomb, you simply fold it up and put it back in the handle.
I just think we need a Glide employee at the top of every single set of stairs in the world, waiting to just take us up and down.
We could do that job. So there's probably steps coming up.
Stairman.
And
You heard of the doorman? Well, now it's the stairman.
Why does everyone always say steps coming up? Yeah, is that a step up or a step down? Because that is quite important to know.
Quite important to know the difference. Yeah.
Little pet peeve of mine, that.
Okay, all right. No, that's fine.
Okay.
All right.
Can I just say, I did test out the Meta AI, and Meta AI is enabled, but Look and Describe is not available in your location.
Right, just forget it.
Forget it.
Just forget it. It's not happening. You're not getting it.
No, forget it.
Listen, we'll continue with more messages, but here is the way you can get involved with Double Tap.
Get in touch with Double Tap. Email feedback at doubletaponair.com. Leave us a voicemail at 1-877-803-4567. And now you can send an audio or video message to us on WhatsApp. That number is 1-613-481-0144.
And that's exactly what Leander has done.
I just had to come back and say I totally agree with Callum. I also have been totally blind since birth, and I would definitely take vision. Like him, I'm very happy with what I do and things, but there is things that I would love to be able to do if I could see. So I totally agree with him.
Yeah, thanks, Leander. It's interesting. I think we tend to, and this is the joy of this show, is that we hear so many different perspectives on things, and we do encourage other opinions, outside of the one true opinion. We actually do, encourage people to have their say, and, we're not driven by any particular agenda here. We're not really, there's no agenda. In fact, there's barely any planning. So, what comes out is what we get. And I think we get some great conversations, and also get some great honesty. Callum bringing up, if you missed it, the whole conversation around, Neuralink and what it meant, and essentially, would someone who had no vision at all, had never had any vision, would they want their sight back? Callum says he would, and Leander agrees.
Yeah, it's a very individual, personal thing, obviously.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
But good to hear all sides. Christopher's been back in touch on Braille.
Hello, Double Tappers. This is Christopher from Melbourne, Australia. Thought that I would mention in here my thoughts on the whole Braille debate. For context, I learnt to read it as a child. However, I have never been good at it. As we need to use resources in a smart way, I'm of the view that it is better to be really good at using your screen reading tech. I use both VoiceOver on Mac and JAWS for Windows. At work, I've learned to revoice what the screen reader is telling me. This is handy when, quite often, I'm providing a temp password so that a customer is able to log back into their banking portal. Regarding the argument around formatting of documents and spelling things right, I find that I am able to do both of these things most of the time, and they are up to a good standard. Regards, Christopher.
Yeah, again, just pushing back a little bit on that narrative that we hear a lot, which is that, the only way to be, capable of anything is to have Braille in your life. I am not against Braille. I'll say it again for the 8 millionth time because people keep thinking I'm talking down Braille. I am a huge fan of Braille. I want more children to learn it at school so it's useful to them. But I think there are serious discussions that need to be had around the availability of Braille devices, cost, and also availability of education to blind children, which both of them seem to be going in the exact opposite directions, one down and one up. And I think that's something that needs to be addressed. And clearly me bringing that up makes people think I don't like Braille. I seem to be the only one who's having a serious conversation about keeping Braille alive. Everyone else just wants me to shut up about it and, just pretend everything's fine. Everything's fine here. We're picking out the colour of the living room whilst it's on fire, but it's fine. I'm not for that. Look, we've got to have a serious conversation. But Chris brings up a great point. He's in a job, he's using Braille, but he's also finding the screen reader use, if he was to, dedicate time, would probably be more to the screen reader. And I think that's That's a really good point, because
I find it really interesting what Chris said there was that he learned Braille as a child, yet he feels like he's still not very good with it.
and I think that's another point. Yeah, but
we
again, I
just
wonder
always
how
assume
long.
that the earlier you learn it means you will be, a fluent professional Braille user.
Well, there's no
Maybe
evidence
that's
of
not
that.
always the case.
No, there's no evidence of that either. And I say there's no evidence of it because, in particular, there is a gap that will develop between the child learning Braille and then experiencing it next. Now, that was different 50, 60 years ago, perhaps. But today, the chances are a child is going to leave school and then be faced with phones, iPads, computers. That's
Yes.
the technology they'll get hands on with because the Braille tech is too out of reach until that person's in a job, and then they may be able to access it. But I have spoken to many people over my lifetime who say, they learned Braille at school and it was a brilliant thing to learn, and they come back to Braille in education. In employment. And I think that says a lot. There's a gap that develops. And again, it's part of the fact, and I know you don't want me to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway, it's down to the cost. It's not achievable. If you're coming up, look, I mean, it's great if you live your life through education, and it's great if you live your life and you go straight into employment, but not a lot of people do. And how many blind people are not in a job? I mean, look, we've got to get real about this stuff. So what is the best way? Maybe this is the question we need to ask. What is the best way? How prepared should a blind kid be today to ensure that they are ready for the workplace, ensure they are ready to get into employment? Because, look, we need to tackle the issue of low unemployment. And we know this is not about Braille. We know this isn't about screen reading technology. This is about attitudes towards blind people in the workplace. That's the bottom line. It is, ultimately. I remember a study. Let me say this.
Okay.
Now, let me just say this. There was a study, I think about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, but from RNIB in Scotland, who surveyed employers in Scotland. I think they surveyed over 500 employers. And they came back with a statistic which said 92% of all the employers that they surveyed would not employ a blind person. Openly said they would not employ a blind person. 92% of 500 employers said that.
You seem surprised by that.
I'm not surprised by it. I suppose the only bit I'm surprised at is that they actually said it out loud. But maybe shouldn't be surprised at that either. But, the fact is that kind of statistic tells you what you need to know, which is the problem really is with the employer themselves, the attitude of the employer looking at a blind person and saying, what are we going to do with this person? And, of course, the answer to that is anything you want because, we're capable
it's not
people.
Working for us. Actually, is it down to the fact that they believe that you need all this specialist equipment in order for them to be part of your company? And if it was a case of, you know what, let me have an interview, let me sit down in front of a computer, turn on the speech, and I'll show you what I can do.
Well, okay. I would say that there's two things there. One is, again, it depends on where you live. But in the UK, for example, we have a scheme called Access to Work, the best secret kept by the government. Because
it's not fit for purpose, is it?
Well, it actually is. The service is brilliant if you can get access to the service. There's many challenges, and of course, that's a bigger issue with civil service in the UK and the fact that it's departments being slashed and all the rest. But the actual core service is available. Now, look, if every single disabled person who could access to work in the UK took it, we may have a problem because I think the money would somehow get tight. But in the current state of affairs, it is actually very useful, and it does help people get access to equipment and services, support service, but also taxi service to get to work, so you can actually get to the job, all those kind of things. So those costs would be covered by the government. So in terms of cost, whilst an employer might think, if purely just think, well, this is going to cost too much money to do this or not going to be possible, that very simple conversation can be had to say, look, if you think I'm going to cost money, don't think I'm going to cost money because actually we can solve this problem. You've got to fill out a few bits of paperwork and we'll get it fixed. But there is a problem with people thinking, the time it takes to get the equipment. This is where Access to Work fails. The time it takes for people to get access to the equipment can be weeks, months, maybe even a year. And so therefore
Yes.
that leaves the person in a position where suddenly they cannot do the job. Now, when I go back to my point about, how match fit are we as blind people in the workplace, if Braille was, say, the best way for me to function and I wasn't as up on my screen reader, would that be a problem? Would a candidate be better off, being able to sit down and, as you say, just turn on a computer, download NVDA, get started right away using the tools they know? It's an interesting discussion because, I think it comes to the heart of what, because I think a lot of people tend to put it on everyone else. This is what I hear a lot out there in the advocacy world. It's again, this whole social model of disability thing. It's all everyone else's fault. Yeah, I there's part of that. Absolutely true. Absolutely true that if someone in a wheelchair goes to a restaurant and can't get in because there's no ramp and there's no way to get in, that's on the employer, that's on the restaurant, that's on them, because they're not making that building accessible to you. But if I turn up to a job and I am expecting that an employer, either an employer or a government, pays money in order for me to get equipment in order to do the job, then I'm not being match fit. I'm the one that's the problem there.
Yeah, again, though, this all goes down. I mean, I put forward the case that maybe it's the equipment that's the issue, but as you said, I mean, maybe it's a case of the likelihood of even getting an interview anyway before we even get to that stage.
Well, that's the other side
perception of employing someone with a disability right from the start.
Yeah, I mean, attitudes is a big issue, and of course that always will remain the case. That it's why I've never done a real job in my life, because I'd be terrified to go for an interview in case I would probably get one. So I don't know. I just, so many emotions kick up with this because I feel, with Braille especially. I mean, we're talking. Of course, we're coming up to the 200-year anniversary of Braille, and lots of people are very excited about it and want to talk about it and the value of it. And I'm 100% there with you on it. I want Braille to survive, but I also want people today to be successful in their careers, and I'm not wedded to a particular method in order for that to happen. I'd rather we find a method that works for the most amount of people. And I think as a kid going through school, yeah, of course I want them to learn Braille. Of course I want to, have them understand every possible screen reader combination that exists, so you have as much information. But having talked to some TVIs recently, teachers of visually impaired children, I have learned from them the challenges, which is you're putting a lot on kids here, Stephen. You're putting a lot into their minds. Yeah, okay, they're sponges. They'll pick it up at that young age, but they're also learning maths, they're learning French, they're learning languages, they're learning this, they're learning science, they're learning all this stuff, and they're learning Braille, and they're learning computers. It's like, at some point, you got to give the kids a break. And
well, yeah, but it's interesting you mentioned maths there. I mean, it may be a case that Braille is the best method for learning certain types of math, right?
Yeah,
rather than
absolutely.
a screen reader. So, I mean,
which is why I advocate for all of it. But people tell me I'm wrong on every side, so I can't win.
Maybe it's like what we talked about earlier with the cane, the guide dog, or glide. Nothing is mutually exclusive. It's just making sure that Braille is healthy enough that it's always there as an option, and doesn't sort of price itself out. We'll see.
It's a difficult one, isn't it?
It is. It's beyond me. I'm
Thanks,
not
Shaun.
clever enough. You're welcome. That's why I'm here. It's those razor sharp opinions.
It's that analysis I live for.
I don't know.
Okay. Thanks, Shaun. Okay, so moving on to negative Julian. It's always nice to hear from him.
Hello, gentlemen and gentle lady.
Oh.
Have you heard the news? Google are going nuclear. The BBC have reported that Google have commissioned the building of 7 nuclear power plants to power their server farms and data centres. They think this necessary because, on average, each AI inquiry requires about 10 times as much electricity as one conventional Google search. There is not currently enough generating capacity on the planet to satisfy expected demand. This has me thinking about my old nemesis, on-device AI. Don't get me wrong. I welcome AI help with opening apps, linking various operations together, and so on. But is that really what most people are expecting of AI in 2024? My thoughts about on-device AI have previously centered around speed and security. I shall not rant about those today, except to thank Lisi Lilienfeld, Google's product manager for Android, for shooting Shaun Priest out of the sky on the subject of speed. It made me feel quite positive. This time, I'm thinking about power. Google needs nuclear power plants to make AI happen. Now, I do not expect much from the on-device version, but if it can even do 20% of the online type, surely it will eat your battery very, very quickly. Is it a coincidence that Apple have put larger batteries in its iPhone 16 range?
Nope.
Is it not likely that the battery endurance that you are currently enjoying will more than disappear when Apple Intelligence makes its appearance? Please do not plead better silicon. Google employs or has access to some of the finest minds on the planet. Nuclear power is super expensive and very controversial. If the company thought it possible to solve the power problem by replacing the chips in its server farms, it would certainly be doing so. Over to you. Regards, Negative Julian.
Well, look, I'm no expert by any stretch of the imagination on this one, but, I think it's very clear, going by what the experts have said, is that it's going to take a huge amount of power in order for this technology to flourish. I mean, we're not even at the point yet where we've got live video capability. And when that happens, just that alone, it's going to require so much computing power.
Then it's going to need to be reassessed. If that power isn't available, it's going to be reassessed. They're going to have to find a different way. The option for Google, and I believe Microsoft as well, who were also looking to go nuclear for their AI server farms, has been denied. They've been denied that option.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that means the same for Google and their plans to build their own. This was to do with attaching themselves to pre-existing nuclear plants. They've been denied access to that, and that was recently. So who knows how this is going to work? But I hear this all the time about the power consumption of AI. And if this is really the case, surely that's just not possible.
Look, I've got to say as well, I think that, there's been I don't know if you're aware of this, Shaun, there's been a change of government coming up in the US. So I don't know if that's going to have any impact on any of this, but I kind of throw that out there. But I actually am intrigued to know, okay, power's one angle here, but I think also what AI will become as a result of, let's just say, Elon Musk having pretty much, it would appear, blank canvas when it comes to capability. Let's be honest about it, because there doesn't seem to be any push for regulations anymore. We seem to have gone off the deep end on that one.
Frack. Grok is the king. Yeah, look.
And that is, I mean, the future of AI is kind of in the balance here as well, or at least in what it will become, just as purely as the result of that election. So that's something we're going to dig into actually in the next few weeks, because I'm intrigued by that. We're going to get some experts on it. Yeah, thank you.
It's interesting. Is AI worth rolling blackouts? Possible power problems? Everything going back to nuclear? Is it worth it? Are we willing to pay that price?
Well, all this so that Siri can still ask me which Amazon app I want to open.
Oh, it told me somewhere I was looking for was 4,600 miles away yesterday. The pharmacy around the corner that I was trying to call. 4,000 miles away. How? Sorry, don't even get me started. Wow. You should have gone nuclear.
Maybe that's if Apple had gone nuclear, then we'd be fine. It'd all be working
It's
great.
that wind power. It's making Siri like that.
I just, it seems like you're right. It feels like this should be addressed first before we start, building huge amounts of power plants to try and solve this issue. I don't know. I really don't know. It's the same. I have the same discussion with people about electric cars. It's like, yeah, okay, this is great, but where's all the electricity coming from? We still need. I'm not against any of these things. I'm of course for the development, but the same people who criticize me for pushing back against this stuff are the same people who complain that the planet is going to fry itself at some point in a given moment. So, and doesn't seem like they're far off the mark, because the recent years things are changing massively with the climate. It's of course, anyone who says it's not related to this, I mean, come on, are you serious?
Yeah. It's slightly different, as in the EV and power consumption is more gradual. It's not an overnight flicking the switch, which is what it would be with AI server farms.
Yeah,
it's all of a sudden you've got this massive draw on the power supply. So, yeah, it's definitely an interesting question. It's quite worrying, to be honest.
I think what we should do is we should build all these nuclear plants on Mars. If Elon wants to do something, if he's bored, because I think he's bored, to be perfectly honest, what he should do is go off to Mars, build all these nuclear power plants, right? Because no one uses Mars for anything, so we'll use that. And what we'll do is we'll get a big power cable to back from Mars and plug it into Earth, and
That's
there you
quite a
go.
long
Problem
one.
solved. It's a big
You've
cable.
probably got one in your loft. It's fine.
Listen, all those cables in that bag in there, we could put them all together, and probably that'd be long enough.
Beautiful.
Listen,
Stephen,
you think
as
that's
ever, has the
ridiculous?
answer.
You think that's ridiculous? If Elon was listening to this, he'd be like, "How could I make that happen?" And we get it done. Okay.
What do you mean if? Hello, Elon.
Thank you very much for that, Julian. Let's hear from Ruth, who got in touch with us.
Having lost one eye at 73, I discovered a few years later your wonderful AMI channel, and especially Double Tap, Globe and Mail, etc. I can see, but I'm partially sighted, and my good eye isn't that great, so I can relate to some of your topics. I have greater empathy now for those with vision disabilities and prepare for the worst. Just to say, keep on doing what you do, and I absolutely adore the Scottish fellow's accent and enunciation. As a retired teacher of English, it is such a treat to hear someone use fewer in the correct way, as everyone uses the word less these days.
There you go.
Just an example of the Americanization, the deterioration of the language, or the, right, like,
Disgraceful.
filler words, I call them.
Yep. 100%, Ruth. I agree with you. I'm applauding you for that. 100% true.
I am also here, Oh, no, Thank you very much. Glad you like it, and take care of yourself.
Yeah, and thanks for tuning in to AMI and tuning into all our wonderful shows.
Yes.
Go check out AMI.ca, AMI Plus. Have I got that right? I'm sure I'll find out I got it wrong. Hang on a second. Forget it. I'll get in trouble for saying the wrong web address or something, I'm sure. But yeah, basically just tune in. Just tune in. All right?
Oh,
or else.
That was very Scottish.
Or we'll send someone round.
Now.
Yeah, that's how it works. Okay, what are we going to do? What am I doing now? I've completely lost track of myself. Oh, yeah.
You got time for another?
Yeah. Gregory got in touch. You'll like this one.
Hey, guys. This is Gregory again. I've been laughing till almost pee my pants. Your podcast on Monday about being somewhere in a crowd or something and saying, hello. Is there anybody there? And Shaun saying, it's like you're in a seance. My gosh, how many times have I been in that situation saying, hello? Or if I have a sighted friend and we're sitting at a table at a restaurant and they take off, maybe to go to the bathroom or something, and I'm saying hello or start talking and they're gone. But anyway, I had to call. It was so funny. Hello? Is anybody there? Okay, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Gregory.
Thanks for everything you do.
You're very
Thanks,
welcome.
Greg. You know what? Someone did that to me today. I was picking something up from a shop, and he was asking me questions, and I was answering, and all of a sudden I was like, "Hang on, I'm getting no response. Hello, are you there?" And he'd just gone. It is so frustrating. Usually I laugh about most things, but that really annoys me when people do that. It's just so rude, right? I'm gone. You can talk to the air.
My neighbour did it to me the other day. I was at the shop, and my neighbour passed by and said hello. And I said hi. And it's okay. No idea who that was. Fine, whatever. And also, you kind of have that moment. Do you ever have that moment where you think, are they talking to me or?
Oh, yes. You know what? I've given up with that. I don't care if you're saying hello to someone on a phone call anymore. I'm going to say hello to you anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't embarrass me whatsoever now.
I don't
know.
The amount of times that's happened, someone passing by, hello, hi, and then they go, oh, sorry, I'm on the phone.
Yeah.
All right, okay. Idiot.
Yeah, but I'd rather that than
I'm the
ignore
idiot, by the way.
someone. Right.
I know.
Because
I know.
sometimes someone says hello and you think, hang on, was that to me? And wait, the seconds are clicking over here. Is it? Should I? Hello. Oh, no, it was to someone else.
But then, so later on, I get back to the house, and as I'm walking up the street, the same voice shouts hello. But, contextually, I'm like, I know who that is now. It was that person. And, they came over and they're like, I said hello in the shop. And I'm like, yeah. I said, can I give you a little hint and tip? Next time, you just say your name. And she's like, but you knew who I was. And so I had to explain the whole thing. And that way you do this in the hope that this explanation can be delivered once to this individual, and then that person will then tell the rest of all the neighbours in the street.
Doesn't happen.
Now you know why he doesn't respond to you, or if he does, he seems to respond in some kind of like
generic,
completely blank response. I have no idea who you are.
I can say I don't know 99.9% of the people that say hello to me. I have no idea, unless, as you said, it's in the right context. Oh, someone said hello to me here. I know who you are.
That's right.
I don't recognize voices. A lot of the voices to me just seem exactly the same, unless they're really distinct. I don't know, unless you say, hey, it's so-and-so. Honestly, I'm just saying hello and moving on. I don't know who you are.
I think back over the years, I'd never forget I was in a subway station and someone yelled hello and said, hi, Stephen, yelled it across the... And to this day, I have no idea who that was. And I don't think I've ever met that person again. Because you know that way you're trying to sort of listen, you're playing it back in your head, the voice. It's like,
yep.
Okay, it was a female, but what was that voice? Is that young, old?
What time was it? Was it,
would this be someone near my work at the time?
Yeah.
Would I maybe know that person? Would this be someone
ridiculous.
in that? Play this. Just tell me who you are.
Let it go. I don't care anymore. I'm just antisocial or overly friendly.
Anti-people.
I just say hello to everyone.
Yeah. You've become me. That's the terrifying bit about all this. You've become me.
Well, now you've terrified me. How have I become you?
You feel kind of grumpy. Grumpy these days. Set you off. Absolutely anything will just get you fired up.
You're quite right. That's it. I think we need
proud.
A separation, Stephen Scott.
Are you breaking up with me? Is that what's going on here?
Right, okay. It's not you. It's me. Oh, no, wait,
definitely
it is
me.
You.
No, it's definitely me. Listen, we're out of time for today, but we will be back, of course, tomorrow with plenty more. Join us for that. As always, Shaun, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.